Hello everyone and welcome! The Budget 180SX is back. After having a blast this past weekend at the ultimate Scale Truck Expo down in Florida and witnessing some of the amazing drifting that took place on the track, it's got me motivated to get my 110 scale rear-wheel drive drifter dialed in and finished up. To regular viewers, this project needs no introduction, but for anyone new, this build started with the goal of making a solid, well-performing rear-wheel drive drift car for under $300 US. It's using a Sakura D4 chassis with some basic electronics, topped with this great-looking Nissan 180SX body. In today's video, I'm going to be sliding this car around and adding a few scale details to the body, as well as giving you a sneak peek at what's to come. So with all that said, let's get started. One of the goodies that I picked up at USTE was this Helios Shorty Pack 2S LiPo battery. Not really a huge weight difference between this and a larger 2S, but with so much of the weight already in the rear due to wanting to leave a lot of room for the interior, I decided to stick with a smaller size battery. Of course, with the battery in, I took the car out and did some sliding. As you can see, I'm driving this car on the same foam mats that you'll often see me drive the micro cars on, but it actually seems to be working pretty well. These foam mats are quite a contrast to the hard, smooth surfaces usually used for drifting, but I was able to get some nice slides after a little practice. Just to change things up a bit, I also drifted the car on some short carpet around the office. The surface I drive on certainly has a sizable impact on the car's performance. I know that they make a lot of different tire compounds designed for different surfaces, so I think I'll be picking up some different tires to see what works best on some of these surfaces that I have around the shop and in the parking lot outside. I did mess around a bit with the setup. I've talked with a few folks and read some tips online about different things that I can adjust, such as the camber angle, toe angle, and a few other things. All in all, I'd like to think that it's set up pretty well. A lot at this point probably comes down to my skill as a driver. At some point, I want to get this car set up to drift outside on asphalt, but I'm going to wait for the weather to warm up a bit before I do that, and get some different tires better suited for asphalt. It's certainly been a blast ripping this car around the shop, though the poor body's taken a few hard hits, but no worries there. One thing that I do need to address is for some reason I can't get the wheels to turn to full lock. If I remove the gyro from the equation and just plug the servo directly into the receiver, the servo will steer the wheels to full lock, but with the gyro in, I'm not able to get as much steering angle. If any of you know why this is the case, certainly let me know. Adjusting the gyro dial or any transmitter settings doesn't increase the steering angle, but this is definitely something that I want to fix, as I think that extra steering angle is really going to help. Also, if you've just got any general tips, please feel free to leave them below. I always appreciate the information. I'm lucky enough to be in contact with some very talented individuals in the world of RC drifting, so they've been helping me out with answering questions and have been a great resource for information. Really a big thanks to all you viewers who've helped me out. But hey, it's alive and it's drifting, and that's awesome. However, there are still a few cosmetic things that I want to improve on the car, starting with the body lines. While the bodyline tape looks pretty good and it's very easy to put on, it does have a tendency to peel up in spots and also shrink, which is the case on some sections of this body. I'm not really sure if there's any tricks to preventing this from happening, but I just went around the body and tediously fixed all these little sections with glue. Yeah, it's kind of unnecessary, but I can sleep better now knowing that these little sections of body lines are glued down. By no means am I going to go out and say it's perfect, but it's definitely an improvement. You can always paint the lines either from the inside or the outside, but that's a lot more work than just putting down the tape. Moving on from that, as you can see, I masked off all of the lights so that I'd have the option of installing light buckets and lights in the future. At this time, I don't have any plans of adding lights, at least not yet. So I went ahead and applied the light decals that were included with the body just to make the outside look a little more finished. I can always take these off if I want to add lights in the future, but for now I think the body overall looks better with them on. Now, one thing worth pointing out is I really couldn't get the tail lights to lay down without a bunch of wrinkles due to the shape. If you're building one of these bodies and are for sure going to be using these light decals, You'd honestly probably be better off just cutting out those raised sections of the taillights and laying these decals down over top. And just to be clear, I mean cut the body, not the decals. Cut those little raised circular sections out of the body and just lay the decal down over top. Now you will lose the 3D-ness of the taillights, but the decals will lay down perfectly smooth, which would probably look better overall. Just an idea I had after putting these on. Really though, aside from that, the exterior is looking pretty good, but one thing that I still wanted to add was a tailpipe. I'm using one of our fine tailpipe pieces linked below in the description to add a little more detail to the rear of this car. After spending some time brainstorming a way to mount it, I decided to create a custom mount using scrap pieces of styrene and secured it to the chassis. I don't want to secure it to the body if I don't have to, and the styrene will have enough bend so that it will hopefully not snap off, at least not too easily. It certainly took a bit of time and thinking to make it, and I also wanted to make sure that the mount wouldn't interfere with the battery holder, but eventually I got it secured and positioned perfectly. It's a small detail, but I really think it adds to the overall appearance. Now of course all I have to do is get it painted. I used flat black for the mount and silver for the tailpipe. While waiting for that paint to dry, I grabbed another product out of the bin, which is our SLA 3D printed rear view mirror. Again, the link is below. We've got a couple different sizes and different versions for both left and right hand drive vehicles. After selecting the small right hand drive version for this 180, I skipped the painting process and just colored the mirror section with a silver marker. Now of course painting these rear view mirrors black and then using some chrome foil or something similar for the mirror section will always look best, but it doesn't look bad doing it this way, and of course it's a lot faster. With a little glue, I got it secured in place. Annoyingly, it's not quite centered despite my best efforts, and by that I mean just eyeballing it, but it does add a bit of detail to the interior. Speaking of interior, I've got a set of our GRS 300 racing seats ready to go, but I do still need to get those painted before installing them. I've also got a full dash in the works as well. Now I'm not going to be going into a ton of detail on this, but once it's installed it should look pretty cool. More info on that dash in an upcoming video. Now I have been thinking about getting one of these LCD voltmeters to put in the instrument panel, but I don't know, do you think that would be cool or just kind of pointless? I'm curious to know your opinion on that. I figured it would be something kind of cool to integrate into the interior. I've even got some full door panels that will fit this body, but I'm not sure if I'm going to be adding them due to their size, and I'm not really sure how I'd want to mount them. Still not really sure how crazy I'm going to get with the interior. I'm thinking about keeping it relatively simple, but we'll see. Anyways, with the paint on the tailpipe now dry, I could install it back on the chassis. It's solid, easy to remove if needed, but also does have some flex, and I love how it looks on this car. It's definitely been fun getting this car back out, and I'm loving the look of these new parts. I think getting the remaining interior parts painted and installed is really going to finish off the car, and hopefully I can make a few tweaks to make it drift even better. As always, I appreciate you all watching this video and following along with this project. It's been a fun one for me to build, so I hope it's been fun for you to watch as well. But that is going to be all for today's video. I want to thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.